Analytic memos are critical in qualitative analysis. You need to document your analytic process as you are doing it, and the notes you take can be a very important record of how your analysis proceeded, why you made the analytic choices you did, and how you reached your conclusions. They can remind you of critical information as you do your qualitative write-up, and they can help promote trustworthiness and credibility in your analysis. Detailed analytic memos can also be a really important tool during collaboration, as they can allow other researchers to more quickly understand what you're trying to do and why. In Transana, analytic memos are implemented through a flexible system called Notes. You can add notes to most data records in Transana. All you do is right-click an item in the database tree and select the Add Note item in the menu. You then give your note a name, as you may want to have more than one note for some items, and then type whatever you'd like into the note. While you will develop your own system for creating notes to match your analytic needs and style, let me describe a few of the ways I use notes in my own analyses. I think of transcription as a first analytic pass in my data. I commonly see interesting things while I transcribe data. I don't want to interrupt the transcription process, but I want to remember to follow up on these ideas later. Most of the time, I will create a note attached to the episode I am transcribing, and I will record all of my initial observations in one such note. Sometimes, when I'm doing more complex transcription involving multiple transcripts, I'll create these notes attached to individual transcripts if the scope of the idea is narrow and tied to one of the transcripts and not the others. If the idea is broader than the transcript I'm working on, though, I usually record it at the episode level. For example, when I was transcribing a set of commercials, I started to notice some rather odd statements being presented as logical arguments. I made a note to myself, attached to the episode that held that commercial, pointing out the logical fallacy. When I create different transcripts to embody different analytic lenses or viewpoints of the video I'm analyzing, I always document the function of each transcript in a transcript note. That way, my collaborators can more easily see what I'm trying to do with some of the different transcripts I create. When creating theoretically driven collections, it's always a good idea to create a collection note describing the theoretical construct the collection represents in more detail than the title of a collection can capture. With collection notes, it can be particularly useful to start each entry in the note with a date timestamp, which you can insert automatically by pressing Ctrl-T. What I find is that sometimes my understanding of my data changes significantly over the course of my analysis. When this happens, I don't delete outdated ideas from my collection notes. Instead, I put a date timestamp in the note and describe what led me to changing my ideas about what a particular collection of clips and snapshots means. By recording my analytic memos in this way, I leave a trail of breadcrumbs that allows me to retrace my intellectual journey through my data. This gives a much more complete picture of my analysis than does a record of successes carefully scrubbed clean of the inevitable analytic missteps and dead ends I encountered along the way. It allows me to tell a much more authentic and credible story and makes my conclusions more trustworthy to others who dig into my analytic data. When I create clips, I find it's often helpful to add a note to them detailing what was behind the creation of that analytic object. Notes are essential in containing thoughts and insights that aren't necessarily blatantly obvious by looking at the fine-grained clips, but that become clear to the researcher working with a larger body of data. Notes store the more complex, higher-order analytic insights you have along the way. Notes can also be useful on a more practical level. Sometimes I will create a series called 1 Progress. This series, which shows up at the top of the list of series because series records are listed in alphanumeric order, is where I leave myself notes about my progress and ideas on a daily basis. I put notes here of things I don't want to forget from one analytic session to the next. This notion can also be very useful during collaboration using the multi-user version of Transana. I'm located in the United States and was collaborating closely with a colleague in England on a recent analysis. Because of the time difference, we rarely worked on our analysis at the same time. We developed the habit of leaving each other notes about our ideas and the progress of each analytic session. We also devised a system for creating video notes when necessary. While we could have accomplished much the same thing via email, the notes in the Transana database became a very useful part of the analytic record. Transana's system for attaching notes to different kinds of analytic objects allows for creating a very detailed record of diverse analytic acts and insights, but it also tends to leave your notes scattered all over the place in your analytic database. Transana's Notes Browser tool is designed to pull all of your notes together into a single interface, allowing you to explore them easily and work on synthesis of your ideas across notes. To load the Notes Browser, go to the Tools menu and select Notes Browser. You can click through all of your collection notes, allowing you to pull together all of your thoughts about the theoretical meaning of the different collections that you've created during your entire analysis. If you're having trouble finding a particular note on a particular topic, the Notes Browser's text search feature can often help you find it. Type in a word or phrase and press the search button. The Notes Browser will show you only those notes that contain the word or phrase you're looking for. Finally, in the main Transana interface, when you are editing a note, you have to close that note before you can continue working in Transana. However, you can leave the Notes Browser open in the background as you work in Transana. This allows you to document your complex analytic process in a way that's more straightforward and convenient at times. You can't create new notes within the Notes Browser, but you can edit all of your existing notes. Transana's notes are very flexible, and this screencast only suggests a few ways they can be used. I cannot emphasize strongly enough how important it is to take good analytic memos as you proceed with your qualitative analysis, and notes are a convenient mechanism for handling that vitally important analytic task. There's one final thing I'd like to mention, mostly for people new to qualitative analysis as well as being new to Transana. The notes that I've used in the screencast meant only to demonstrate the usage of the software. You will probably want to have considerably more information in the notes that you write for your analytic memos.